Hi guys, this is O-Level Chemistry, paper 11, June 2015, question 11. What is the relative molecular mass MR of CuSO4.5H2O? So all we need to do is add up the ARs of all the atoms present. So copper, the AR would be 64. For sulfur, the AR would be 32. For oxygen, the AR is 16. And since there are 4 oxygen atoms present, so 16 into 4. Next, we have 5 to the 10. 10 hydrogen atoms present. Each hydrogen atom has an AR of 1. So total would be 10. And then we've got 5 oxygen atoms present. So this would make it 16 times 5, which would give us 80. Adding all of these together gives us an MR of 250, which makes option D the correct option for this question. Question 12. 1 dm cube of ammonia gas is passed over heated copper 2 oxide, and the equation is given. What is the volume of nitrogen formed when measured at the same temperature and pressure as ammonia? So since temperature and pressure are the same, the molar ratio would be equal to the volume of the gases. So the molar ratio is 2 is to 1 as far as ammonia and nitrogen is concerned. So 2 moles of ammonia produces 1 mole of nitrogen gas. Therefore, if the volume of ammonia is 1 dm cube, then the volume of nitrogen would be 1 upon 2 into 1, which would give us a value of 0.5 dm cube. This makes option B the correct option for this question. Question 13. What are the correct anode and cathode, positive and negative electrode products when aqueous copper 2 sulfate is electrolyzed using copper electrodes? So, anode is where oxidation occurs. The product would be the copper anode dissolving, producing copper ions. This eliminates options C and D. And the product at the cathode, since this is a dilute solution containing sulfate ions, so the product at the cathode would be copper metal, because the electrodes used are made of copper. So this is basically the procedure of copper plating. So at the anode, copper ions are produced. At the cathode, copper ions are deposited as copper metal, making option A the correct option for this question. Question 14. Concentrated aqueous sodium chloride is electrolyzed using inert electrodes. Okay, this is concentrated aqueous sodium chloride. So we would have hydrogen being produced at the cathode, and we would have chlorine being produced at the anode. Which statement about the electrolysis is correct? Chloride ions travel through the solution to the negative electrode. No, chloride ions would travel to the positive electrode, not the negative electrode. Next, electrons travel through the solution to the sodium ions. No, electrons will travel through the wire, not the solution. Gases are given off at both electrodes. Yes, chlorine and hydrogen gases are produced. Sodium is formed at the negative electrode. No, sodium is not formed at the negative electrode. Hydrogen gas is formed at the negative electrode. So this makes option C the correct option for this question. Question 15. The diagram shows the energy profile of a chemical reaction. Two energy changes are labeled X. Two energy changes are labeled X and Y. X and Y. Okay. X is basically the electron affinity of this reaction, and Y is delta H, which would be negative because this is an exothermic reaction. Okay. Which statement about the reaction is correct? The activation energy of the reaction is X plus Y. No, it is just X. The enthalpy change of reaction is X. No, electron affinity is X. The enthalpy change of reaction is X plus Y. No, it is just Y. The reaction is exothermic. Yes. So the correct option for this question is option D. Question 16. In the graph, curve 1 was obtained by observing the decomposition of 100 cm cube of 1 mole per dm cube hydrogen peroxide solution catalyzed by manganese 4 oxide. Okay. Which alteration to the original experimental condition would produce curve 2? Since curve 2 has a greater volume of oxygen produced, higher value of O2 volume, which means that more of the reactant would have been present in experiment 2. So adding some 0.1 mole per dm cube hydrogen peroxide solution, yes, because hydrogen peroxide is a reactant. Lowering the temperature, changing the temperature will have an effect on the rate of reaction, not on the volume of oxygen gas produced. Using less manganese 4 oxide, this would decrease the rate of reaction, not the yield of product. And using a different catalyst would also have an effect on the rate of reaction, but it would have no effect on the volume of oxygen gas produced. Therefore, option A is the correct option for this question. Question 17. The equation shows a redox reaction between iron 2 chloride and chlorine gas. Which equation describes the reduction process in this reaction? So for this, we need to find out what is being oxidized and what is being reduced. So Fe 2 plus ions are present in the reactants and Fe3 plus ions are present in the product, making Fe2 plus undergo oxidation in this reaction. And as far as chlorine gas is concerned, it has an oxidation state of 0, and in the form of chloride ions, it has an oxidation state of -1. Therefore, chlorine is being reduced in this reaction. So out of the 4 options given, options C and D are eliminated because they refer to iron, and between options A and B, since chlorine gas is being converted into chloride ions, there is a gain of 2 electrons. So in option A, electrons are found on the product side, showing that oxidation is taking place, which is incorrect. And in B, the electrons are present on the reactant side along with chlorine gas, producing 2 moles of Cl negative ions, which shows reduction, making option B the correct option for this question. Question 18. Which row correctly describes the oxide? So we need to recall from memory the nature of these oxides. So Al2O3 is neither acidic nor basic, it is amphoteric. So this eliminates options A and B. K2O, potassium oxide, is a basic oxide. MgO is also a basic oxide. This eliminates option C. And SO2 is an acidic oxide. This makes option D the correct option for this question. Question 19. Which substance is insoluble in water? Ammonium carbonate. All ammonium salts are soluble in water. So ammonium carbonate is also soluble. Ammonium nitrate. All ammonium salts and all nitrate salts are soluble in water. So this is a soluble salt. Calcium carbonate. Carbonates are usually insoluble in water, and calcium also has mostly insoluble salts. So calcium carbonate is limestone, which is insoluble in water. And we have calcium nitrate. The all nitrates, the anion present is nitrate. So all nitrates present are soluble in water, making calcium nitrate also soluble. Therefore, the correct option for this question is option C. Question 20. In which of these equilibria is the forward reaction favored by an increase in pressure? So an increase in pressure favors the side of the reaction with the lesser number of moles. So we need to calculate the number of moles of reactants and products, and the forward reaction would be favored in the equilibrium where there are more reactants than products. So in the case of A, there are 2 reactants and 2 products. So equilibrium will not be favored whether the pressure is increased or decreased. In the case of B, there are 2 moles of products. So equilibrium will be favored in the backward direction when pressure increases. In C, we've got 3 moles of reactants and 2 moles of products. So in this case, an increase in pressure will favor the equilibrium to shift towards the right. And in D, we've got 1 mole of reactants and 2 moles of products. So an increase in pressure will shift the equilibrium towards the left. The question asked, in which of these equilibrium is the forward reaction favored? So the correct option for this question is option C.